Welcome to Lesson 7. In this lesson, I'll be covering some of the other useful features in TRIMS. The first feature that I'd like to address is some of the different file modes. So far, we've been doing everything in exclusive mode, meaning that when you open the file, you opened it for your use exclusively. This mode is also referred to sometimes as the document mode, because your element files are like documents. You open them, you work on them, and then you have to save them again to keep your changes. The document mode also allows you to save your element under a new name, which preserves the original file. This mode is the most common one for single users. The other mode is client-server mode, which is used when several people need to access a single element file at the same time. To use this mode, you must have a TRIMS server established somewhere, and each person who wants to access it must have a username and password. If you need this capability for your program, please contact the BMP Center of Excellence to find out how to get a TRIMS server of your own. For this example, we'll be using the All-Purpose Missile System server at the BMP Center of Excellence. To connect to a TRIMS server, I select File, then Connect to TRIMS Server. The first time that I do this, the program will prompt me to specify my connection options. I can access this dialog anytime I need to if the information changes by clicking on Options, then Connection Options. You'll need to enter the address of the server, which should be provided to you by your risk administrator. You'll also need to enter your username and your domain. These should also be provided by your risk administrator. TRIMS will need a folder where it can keep cached copies of your server files. We recommend that you keep the default value, although you may choose an alternate folder if you really want to. When you are done setting your options, click the OK button and you can now connect to the TRIMS server. TRIMS will display your username and domain and prompt you for your password. Enter it and then click the Login button. TRIMS will connect to the server and present you with a list of files that you can open. Let's start with the APM body file. Then, let's connect to the server again to download the APM warhead file as well. Now that our files have been opened, we can see that the words CS file are displayed in parentheses next to the element name. This is important to be aware of because TRIMS functions differently in this mode. Because the file is being shared interactively, any changes made to the file will be sent to the server immediately so that other people can see the new information. In this mode, TRIMS acts like a database rather than a document editor. Because of this, the baselining function is disabled. Another result of this is that you will only be able to edit those records and fields that you have rights to. For instance, if I just open the very first template, you can see that all of the fields are grayed out. The questions are also grayed out because I don't have access to any of them. If I open Design Requirements, I can see that everything is grayed out except for 2 of the questions. I can open these questions, and now I see that I can edit most of the fields that are displayed, although a few of them are still grayed out. Notably, I can't change the performer because I'm not authorized to reassign my questions to other people. But what if this question really should be handled by someone else? There's a new button next to the Notes field that allows me to leave a message for the risk administrator. I can now leave him a short note letting him know that I think Drew Analyst would be better qualified to answer this question. Bear in mind, messages for the administrator are not email messages. They're more like sticky notes. The risk administrator will review these messages periodically and will decide whether to accept your suggestion or not. The next available mode is read-only mode. This mode occurs automatically if TRIMS detects that you will not be able to save the file. The phrase read-only appears in the element header. This could occur for a number of reasons. Someone else might already have the file open in TRIMS, which automatically blocks anyone else from editing it. It might have been opened from a CD, or the file could be stored in a network folder where the user only has read rights. Now I'd like to show you a few more useful TRIMS features, like the recently used files list. This part of the File menu will show you the last 5 files that you had open for easy reference. Another nice feature is the highlight filter. This works just like the regular filter, but instead of hiding risks that are not part of the filter, it simply lowlights them. For example, I could use the highlight filter to display all of my watch list risks. I can still see all of the risks in my element, but the watch list risks are more prominent. Moving on to the TRIMS help menu, you'll find an option to display tips in addition to the normal online help. These are the same tips that you saw on Startup in Lesson 1, but they're available from the help menu as well. Also listed here are the help graphics. This part of the help system includes a number of helpful charts that are best printed out for reference. The first 3 charts make up a flow chart that shows the TRIMS baselining methodology. The next charts show D-rating criteria for various electronic components. The last charts show a method of calculating risk factors developed by the BMP Center of Excellence. Before we wrap up, let's look at some of the options that TRIMS offers. Click on Options, and then select Display Options/User Preferences. Wow, there are quite a few choices here. The main display font is self-explanatory. You can specify your choices and see a sample of what it will look like. The Initial Element Display mode gives you control over how elements are displayed when initially open. You can choose whether to start with everything collapsed, everything expanded, or TRIMS can remember which categories were expanded the last time the file was saved and restore those same settings. You can also choose different settings depending on whether you are opening individual element files or a system of elements. The next option allows you to specify whether TRIMS should open with a blank screen or if it should restore the files that you had open the last time that you ran TRIMS. This option is particularly useful if you are always working on the same file. Category Display offers a choice of displaying blocks that represent individual templates or displaying a summary bar as used for the risk group and element levels. The latter option tends to be more useful when using advanced roll-up weighting, which we'll cover in just a moment. When using the individual templates display, the blocks are only shown in the category header when the category is collapsed. After all, when the category is expanded, the templates are visible beneath the category. Moving on, you can choose whether to display empty categories or not. Turning this off can reduce some of the clutter if you have a lot of empty categories. Next are the color options. There are 2 predefined color schemes, the original red, yellow, green, and the alternate green, teal, blue scheme. These colors are useful for people who are red-green colorblind or in environments that are politically sensitive to the color red. You also have the option of setting each color individually according to your own personal preference. For instance, I like purple for high risks. The black text is hard to see on a purple background, but I can click the white block underneath to change the font color to white. The column options offer a lot of flexibility in how you display risks. You can select 3 columns, or 2, or 1, and then set the checkboxes to indicate which risks should be displayed in each column. The next block shows me how risks will be calculated. This is the same as the pull-down menu on the main display, except arrayed as a set of radio buttons. The risk report label arrows only affect the risk matrix and risk detail reports. The advanced roll-up weighting option affects how the risk summaries are calculated. Without it, every template counts equally, regardless of where it is in the tree structure. When this option is enabled, the template weights are used to generate a weighted summary at the category level. At the next level, the categories are also weighted and are compared to generate another weighted summary at the next level. This process is repeated all the way up to the element level. If you have questions about this feature, feel free to call the BMP Center of Excellence. We can tell you more about this feature and how it's used. The last option allows you to turn off the automatic spell checking feature if you don't want to use it. The last 2 items on the page are not options per se, they are actually actions that should be performed when the OK button is clicked. If you have told TRIMS not to display certain warnings, the first action will reset the warnings so that they will all be displayed again. The second action simply empties the recently used files list. The last great feature is our help desk number. If you have questions or comments, you can call the Best Manufacturing Practices Center of Excellence at 301-405-9990 or email us at helpdesk.bmpcoe.org. This is the end of the section on using TRIMS. The next section, which includes lessons 8 and 9, will show you how to apply TRIMS to your specific program.